Alright, so today I've got something a little different than usual for you guys. If you've read the title, you already know we're looking at 620's AC from the cinematic trailer. They're not an NPC in game, but you know, close enough in my opinion. And the main reason is, a couple days ago on stream, someone recommended I try doing a run with 620's build. And I did so, also while using this thing, a flight stick throttle thing. It was really fun. It was also really hard. And in fact, that's why I'm doing an upgrade video, because at the end of the run, I had to upgrade 620's build to actually finish it, because I just couldn't beat the final boss, the original build, right? So, by the way, you can see the build right there. Now, for the internals, I had to extrapolate based on what 621's Loader 4 starts with, the starting AC. Kind of assumed it's probably the same. Also, assault armor, because we see 619 use assault armor in the trailer as well. Figured it was a safe assumption that 620 would also have assault armor. Now, the build itself, 2 Cocolettes in the main hands, really good weapons, deal tons of impact damage, really good at building staggers, right? Back units, the VP6's LR laser rifle, and the RF024 Turner. And this is where the main issue of this build lies, not, kind of the frame parts not being the best, when the internals not being the best, it's these back units. Because they just don't really do much for the build, right? The Cocolettes are already so good at getting staggers, and they don't do good direct hit damage, right? Neither of them is going to really give you a ton of burst damage, especially if you need to switch to them, but actually, after getting in stagger, right? Because you're not going to have time to charge up the laser rifle. So that's the main issue. You just got no, big damage output, no good directed damage does, right? That's the main issue with the build and the main focus for the upgrades, which, as you can see in the background, I switched out for the LCS laser cannon and the Huxley. And I've also switched the Cocolettes for the Ducats. That's a personal preference. You can switch that back if you prefer it. But I think that's enough talking about. Let's go ahead and get into the details of the changes, why I did what I did, and yeah, we'll get into it. Now, for the weapons, I've tried to keep things thematically consistent as possible, right? Now, starting with the main-handed weapons, the Ducats. Now, originally, again, 620 uses the Cocolettes, and I didn't really see a reason to switch off handguns, because the handguns are really good weapons, right? But personally, I prefer the Ducats over the Cocolettes, even though the Cocolettes technically do have better damage and stagger per second, right? I prefer the Ducats for a couple reasons. Main reason being that, well, a couple main reasons. One, they've got more impact and damage per magazine, right? The reload time on the Cocolette isn't that much shorter than the Ducats, and it just feels a little more consistent to me. And also, it's got just a little bit more range, which I often find just kind of help prevents those ricochets, right? And yeah, personally, I prefer the Ducats over the Cocolettes. If you prefer the Cocolettes, just use that instead, right? Doesn't really matter that much. Now, for the back weapons, I've switched out the laser rifle for the laser cannon, right? Basically a straight upgrade in the same category, and I've just turned it into an actual back weapon, right? Now, this is one of the better weapons, or honestly, one of the best back units in the game. It's really strong. It has a good charge time, it cools down relatively fast, and it does a ton of damage and has really good projectile speed. This is a fantastic weapon, very strong, one of the best in the game. And actually, this is true for the Huxley as well. Probably the best assault rifle in the game, funnily enough. An incredibly good weapon, really good impact output, really good. The biggest downside is it does overheat fairly fast, and it does have a fairly small amount of ammo. So you do have to manage that. One thing to remember, you can actually just deactivate the Huxley before it overheats, and it'll be ready a little bit earlier, right? Keep that in mind. But yeah, very good weapons, some of the best in the game, and pretty much super thematically appropriate. Basically took his 620's original weapons and just turned them into actual back weapons, right? I'm really happy with the weapon loadout, and it's a really good and fun one too. This is even a loadout I would take into PvP pretty happily, right? Really solid build. So let's go ahead and move on into the frame parts and why I changed what I changed. And for the frame parts, I tried to keep things looking fairly similar and not change the overall outline of the AC too much, but while giving some decent upgrades, right? Now, for the head, I've switched out the Finder Eye to the Mounder C3. Kind of a couple reasons here. One, big upgrade in attitude stability, a big defensive upgrade overall, and it's not a huge loss mobility-wise, right? It's a very small loss, in fact, mobility-wise. And there was just not much of a reason not upgrade this, and it is relatively similar in appearance, right? Kind of got that single glowing sort of dot eye at the front. I thought it was a pretty nice match, and it's a pretty solid upgrade all around. I've left the core the same, mostly because I just felt like this is like a really iconic looking core, and like there's a couple that are a little similar, like, you know, maybe the VE4A could be considered to be a little similar, but it's just too heavy, right? But didn't have too big of a reason to change it, right? A lot of the things were just simply going to be too heavy or really minor upgrades at best, right? Nothing really stuck out to me as like being worth the upgrade to trade out that iconic orbiter look, right? So I just left it alone. Now for the arms, I switched out the original tool arms for the Nocturne arms. Main reason here, just simply much better firearm specialization. Really helps that lock on speed. The handguns don't have that much recoil, so the recoil control loss isn't a big deal. And even if it is kind of a, in some ways, a defensive downgrade, it is a significant offensive upgrade, right? It's just, it feels way better in my opinion. And for the legs, I've left them alone with this, you know, the crawler, right? Again, the main reason here was there just weren't many options that look similar that were going to be a significant enough upgrade to justify it. The only thing I would really consider would be switching out for the BP 422, right? But for some reason, it just, the look just doesn't match that well to me. If you would have used this instead, and it will, you know, give you some extra attitude stability, gives you extra P, extra defenses, is a solid upgrade, right? It's a solid upgrade all around. It does slow you down just the slightest bit, but not really enough to matter, right? But I didn't feel it really needed it. Again, it's not a major upgrade. I just left the crawler legs as they were. Now, let's go ahead and move on into the internals. Now, for the internals, I've basically just decided to do whatever I want with them, right? Now, first, for the booster. There's not really too much to worry about for the booster here. We are running a pretty fast build, so we don't need high assault boost to make up for that. We don't have a melee weapon, so we don't need good melee attack thrust. We only need to worry about our thrust, our upper thrust, and our quick boost stats, right? So this leaves us with two main options here. Obviously, the Alulas or the Gills. The Alulas are going to be the overall faster option with slightly worse quick boost, but the Gills primarily wins over for me because of the better upward thrust, which is kind of a stat I've really been sort of liking more and more and caring about more and more, especially upward thrust consumption. It really just is a personal preference, I think, at this point for this build. It really is up to you. Just pick whatever you like more. And I prefer the Gills for this build, but it's totally a personal preference. The Gills do have sort of snappier quick boosts, much like smaller delay in between them. So if you really need to do really frantic quick boosting, you can. With the Alulas, you kind of falling behind just a little bit, but still really rapid quick boost, right? But mostly a personal preference. Now, once again, just like this little video, I had the wrong FCS on the whole time. Or maybe it wasn't this little video, but I had the wrong FCS on in one of the recent videos. I've done the same thing with this one. I was messing with the build earlier. I had the wrong FCS on while recording. It's fine, but I'm running the Oculus on this build. This is pretty much entirely a close range build. The ducats aren't good very far out, with having an ideal range of what, 90? Yeah, 90, and the the Cocolet's having an even shorter range of 85. So you're basically always going to be fighting within that close range assist area, even considering for the laser cannon. With the laser cannon primarily being a directed damage dealer, right? You don't really need that much medium range assist even if you're firing it that far away. So I went for the Oculus. It's pretty low weight, low energy load, and it's really high close range assist, right? And that's all you really need. And finally, for the generator, it might seem like a bit of an odd one, but the VE20C, this is mainly just to pump up that damage on the laser cannon. Want to get as much damage out of a single shot as possible out of it, and having high energy firearm specialization is required for that. So I went for the VE20C. And luckily, the energy recharge being on the lower side doesn't matter that much. Basically, and as soon as you touch the ground, you will you shoot straight back up to full energy pretty much. So it feels really good, even with sort of the lower base energy recharge that this generator has. You won't even notice it, right? It feels really good, and you get all that extra damage on the laser cannon. And then finally, for the expansion, I've left it as assault armor. If I was going to take this into PvP for real, I'd put on terminal armor. it is what it is. But yeah, that's it for the build. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Thank you, King. We've lost both of them.
1 AC left, Raven.
2 repair kits remaining.
The Raven is a symbol of resolve. The will to choose what one fights for.
Stay focused, Raven.
Left shoulder ammunition, 30%.
Yes, Raven, I feel it too. This mercenary has potential.
Left shoulder ammunition.
Raven, we can still... All right. We'll watch this one. See where they go on a Raven's wings.
All enemy ACs destroyed. Mission accomplished.
Main system, activating combat mode.
Commence mission. This will be a joint operation with Middle Flatwell, the Liberation Front commander.
They're coming, Raven. Whenever the moment is right.
Look, sir. That's not B2. No, looks like we've got Rex instead. Peter, open fire.
The enemy has spotted us.
This was supposed to be an ambush, you fool. Too late now. We'll try brute force. Raven, is this how we meet in person? See the other one's Uncle Flat. Look alive, Peter. Yes, sir. This will be fun, sir. Sharp. Wonder why they spoke so highly of you. Want to join Vespers?
V5 Hawkins down.
No! V5, come in! It doesn't sound too bad. I see old-fashioned augmentation hasn't let you down. Well, you always were a hard worker. Should have known this wouldn't be easy. I just made V5!
V8 Peter down. Both Vespers have been eliminated. Mission accomplished.
It was a privilege, Raven. We're war buddies now. Maybe I'll find a comrade in you yet.